Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm back. It's your boy Mike D, aka 13th Wonder of the World, aka DDE80, aka Mike DZ. Yeah, I'm back. I'm going to do a special podcast right now. Uh, folks, I got a lot of them I need to take care of. A lot of them I want to do. Uh, my boy Fadeaway didn't do this one, but I did. I thought about this one on my own, did a little research about it, and just want to bring it to you guys, especially to the little ones. Shout out to M Breezy and also to Naya, as well as my boy Bobby Reezy and my sister. Love all y'all, but I'm doing this special point of view podcast, and it's called the top 15 players in the NBA history, past, present, and future, or past and present, excuse me, who has not won and didn't win an NBA title. And there's 15 of them with one honorable mention. And the honorable mention is James Harden. James Harden's been in the league since 2009, and he's only been to the finals once. He's won an All-Star MVP, if I'm not mistaken. He's won a gold medal, but he has not won an NBA championship. And the way that the Clippers are playing this year, he has one of the greatest opportunities this year to get it done. So we'll see what happens with him, as well as Paul George should be on this list too. And as he's another honorable mention, because he's been in the league for a long time now, over 13 years, something like that. And he hasn't won a NBA title as well. So, him and James Harden, and also goes to segue to number 15. Number 15 is Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook has been to the finals only one time when him and James went, but he's won a gold medal. He's won an All-Star MVP, and I think he's won a MVP, if I'm not mistaken. I think James Harden has too, but they have not won a finals championship. And they still got time because they haven't retired yet. This could be the year that they get it done. Hopefully, they get this done so they can put their names on a list and not be on the list of guys that have not won a championship. And I'm very critical of some of these guys because they played hard. They just couldn't get the job done. So number 14 is somebody else that's playing. He's injured right now. He's playing for the Golden State Warriors, and that's Chris Paul. CP3 has been in the league for over almost 20 seasons, folks. He's been playing since 2005. He's been in the league now for over 19 seasons, close to it, 18, 19. And he's only been to one NBA Finals. And that year that he went there, he ran up again. They were up 2-0 on the Milwaukee Bucks. And Giannis came back, and those boys just stumped Chris Paul and Devin Booker into the ground and won the NBA title by winning 4 straight games against them to win it in 6. Chris Paul has been an all-star all his career, but he's only won a gold medal. And he has to realize, I think he's won 2, because I think he was on the team in 2012 with KD and all those boys when they won back in 2012 and LeBron. But other than that, this is what I'm saying right now. Is the window closing on Chris Paul? Yes, it is. Do I think he could? Yes, I think he can still get a championship if he gets to the right team before he retires. Because I think Chris Paul has 2-3 more years in the league. Within those 2-3 years, he can get on a team and win a championship. But he's one that hasn't won a title. He's still got time because he's still in the league. The rest of these guys are no longer in the league. Number 13, Steve Nash. Steve Nash was a 2-time MVP, if I'm not mistaken. He's one of the greatest passing guys in the game, but he never won and never sniffed an NBA Finals. And that's the thing that I'm trying to tell you. Steve Nash is great with the handles. He's close to R.J. Barrett. He knows how to play the game. He was a great coach in Brooklyn until they tuned him out. So besides that, he did not win an NBA championship, and he played for 18 seasons in the league. But what I'm saying about him now is he's one of the greats, but he just couldn't get the chip. Number 12, John Stockton, a former Dream Team original, an All-Star MVP, along with him and Karl Malone together. I think they won it twice, if I'm not mistaken, or once or twice, I can't remember. My Rolodex right now is trying to remember, but I think they won one together. I think they won two, if I'm not mistaken, All-Star MVPs. The original Dream Team player, like I said, stayed in Utah all his career, but ran up against a guy by the name of Michael Jeffrey Jordan. And Utah had the opportunity to go at it and win the championship, but they didn't get the job done because of Jordan, Pippen, and Rodman, and Steve Kerr, and Luke Longley, and Tony Kukoc, and all those boys there with the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls beat them twice in their run. Game 6, they won the championship there in 98 when it was Jordan's last shot as a Bull. Then they won it in 97 when Steve Kerr hit the jump shot to win the title in Chicago. But John Stockton is a great player. He was a great player. He was a great, I think he's still coaching. I don't know if he's still coaching or not, but he was a great player. He had a great shot and all of that there. But he did not win an NBA championship. But he's great. Number 11, Dominique Wilkins. And Dominique he played for 17 seasons in the league. And Dominique Wilkins ran up against Jordan, Bird, Isaiah, and all those teams in the Eastern Conference where he never got a chance to sniff a finals. But he was great for dunking. He was great for being a highlight reel, but he just didn't get to the title. And because of that, he was one of the top great players that couldn't win a championship. But shout out to Dominique, because I think he went somewhere else overseas and got a championship. So shout out to Dominique Wilkins. I like Dominique. He was one of my favorite players growing up. I actually got his jersey for respect for him. Dominique was Dominique, folks. Great highlight guy. Great guy that could dunk, And, I hate that he didn't get there, but, it is what it is. He ran up against Bird, Jordan, Isaiah, and all those boys in the East. Charles Barkley, who's on this list. All those guys in the Eastern Conference. They couldn't get it over. Patrick Ewing and the Knicks, they couldn't get it over. But it is what it is, And shout out to Dominique Wilkins. Number 10. The great Tracy McGrady, who played 15 years in the league from 97 to 2012. His last game he played was in the finals against LeBron James, D. Wade, and Chris Bosh of the Miami Heat that year. T-Mac he got a chance to go to the finals, but T-Mac, at times when he was playing in the playoffs, he could never get out of the first round at times. When he did get out of the first round, he ran up against Kobe Bryant and the LA Lakers. But T-Mac was great at what he did. He was a great shooter. He could dunk the ball. He had all the hype and the potential in the world. He was good at what he did, but he just couldn't get a championship for it. He's a Hall of Famer now, and These guys that I'm talking about, most of them are in the Hall of Fame. So I don't want to say that they're not because they are. They're there. I think Tracy McGrady won a gold medal. I'm gonna have to think about it. I don't think he did, but I'm gonna have to look and see if he did. But T Mac was a great player, but he just couldn't win a championship. Number 9, his cousin Vince Carter. Vince Carter played for 22 years in the NBA. 22. His last game came during the pandemic for the Atlanta Hawks. Vince Carter won gold medals. Vince Carter was one of the greatest dunkers I ever saw. Vince Carter had the potential. He's hit game winners, but he just couldn't sniff for NBA Finals. And because he didn't get there, he's one of the greatest players that didn't win a championship. But I'm here to tell you that don't stop me for liking Vince Carter because Vince Carter was good. He could play basketball, very talented, and still play scrimmages to this day. He should be in the big 3 with Ice Cube. He should call Ice Cube and see if he can get there, him and T-Mac. Cube will hire him. Cube will get them there. But I would like to see him in the big 3. I would like to see Vince Carter and Tracy McGrady play for Ice Cube if they wanted to do it. But he's a great player, but he just couldn't win a championship. Number 8, very controversial person on this list, the great Elgin Baylor. Elgin Baylor played from 1958 to 1972. Elgin Baylor, the year that the Lakers won the championship with Jerry West and Chamberlain and those boys, he retired in the middle of the season when they were doing it. He retired in the season. So he was not on the roster, so he didn't get a championship, which I thought was a robbery. Because if I was them, I would have still gave Elgin Baylor a championship because he worked hard to try to get it, and he didn't get it. And he's one of the greatest players to play the game of basketball, but he just didn't get a championship. And that sucks because Elgin Baylor, the highlights I saw of him, he was great. He was good. Number 7, the great Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson played 14 years in the league, coming from Georgetown, All-Star MVP, also a great, player to win the game. Allen Iverson was what it was for a short man to be like 6'1", like me. I'm 6'2" now, 6'2", excuse me. But to be in that range and to go out there and fascinate the kids with the cornrows and the Allen Iverson AI shoes, which I have, I love them. At one time, I didn't like Allen Iverson. I didn't like him at all at times. It was times that I didn't like him because I thought he was, he was pushing his body too much for me. But that don't mean anything to me because AI could play the game. He was a great player for the 76ers. He went to the Nuggets. He was a great player there, him and Melo, who's also on this list. Went to Detroit, played for Memphis, went back to Philadelphia. He's retired. He's a Hall of Famer. And so, ladies and gentlemen, Allen Iverson is what it is. He was a great player. He went to the finals, but he matched up against Shaq, Kobe, and all those boys, and they won that one game, and then after that, they didn't win anymore because Kobe and them had figured him out. So, but he's one of the greatest NBA players not to win a championship. Number 6 goes to the Fangaro, George Gervin. I don't know how many years he played. I think he played like close to 15, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that. But George Gervin is one of the greatest San Antonio Spurs of all time. He was there when Jordan first came in the league. He played with Jordan. George Gervin with the finger roll, but he was also one of those guys that couldn't get to the finals, and they didn't win a champ. He didn't win a championship, but as far as I'm concerned, he's one of the greatest players that ever played the game. In my book, I like George Gervin. I wish I had his jersey because I've been looking for his jersey. I might look again to see if I could get his jersey and sport his jersey as well, because in my book, him, David Robinson, Tim Duncan, and we're gonna see what Victor do now as he starts his NBA career up and going. Some of the great big men of the San Antonio Spurs organization, and they got some great big men in that organization. So, George Gervin was great, but he just did not win a NBA title. So, shout out to the finger roll man himself, George Gervin. Number 5, and I'm going through this fast. I'll probably be done with this in about 20 minutes, folks. Number 5, just retired from the NBA last year, the great Carmelo Anthony. A part of the '03 draft class 20 years ago. My book, one of the greatest draft classes of all, like the '84 draft class and the '96 draft class as well. Carmelo Anthony, in my book, the greatest Olympic player of all time. I think Kevin Durant now has taken that. I think he's won like 4 medals, if I'm not mistaken. Carmelo Anthony has 4 gold medals. Melo is a shooter, a shooting machine, man. He can play. He can shoot the ball, folks. It's a shame that nobody didn't want to pick him up, because I think Phoenix could have used him along with KD. They could have saved some money and got him on the books and tried to give him an opportunity to win a championship. But Melo decided to call it quits. So he may could come back, I don't know. He's like 39 now. Well, he probably be 40 this year, if I'm not mistaken. But Melo's one of the greatest, but he never got a chance to play in the NBA Finals. And that's the only damper I have on him. But other than that, he's a great player. I got his basketball jerseys. I like Carmelo Anthony. He's a great player. I like him because he was good at what he did on the court. He did what he could do. But a lot of people are questioning him. Should he went to Miami that year when the Big Three was developing, when Wade and LeBron were going set to go to Miami, he decided to take the money and stay and go to New York instead of going with those guys. And Chris Bosh wouldn't have been there. Melo would have been there, and Melo would have won at least one championship in his career, but he decided not to go. But other than that, though, Melo is one of the greatest players that didn't win a championship. Number 4, the great Patrick Ewing. Patrick Ewing played from 85 to 2002. He got to the finals twice and didn't win. Some of the times he didn't make it to the finals was because of Jordan and the Bulls. But those times that Jordan was not in the league, he got to the finals. He lost to Elijah one time, and then he lost to Tim Duncan. Even though he was not playing in the 99 NBA Finals, his team had got there, and he was there. But he didn't win. But Patrick Ewing has won gold medals. He was a part of he's a Dream Team original. He's an all-star. He's one of the greatest players that ever played a game of basketball. He is the coach of Georgetown, if I'm not mistaken. And he should be an NBA coach. He should be in the NBA coaching a team. He's been an assistant coaches here and yonder, but he should be a coach in the NBA. And that's just my opinion, because he's paid his dues in the league. He should be an NBA coach. But he's a coach of Georgetown, which he played at. So that's a great thing for Ewing. But I wouldn't mind seeing him in the NBA. That's just me. That's just me, my opinion, my thoughts on it. And I want to see him in the league, coaching, not no assistant, but a head coach. But shout out to the great Patrick Ewing. And he got some fly kicks too, folks. Yeah, them Ewings do, Patrick Ewing shoes. That's what's up. I got a pair of them. Number 3, the great shooter, one of the greatest shooters of all time, Reggie Miller. Reggie Miller was in the league from 1987 to 2005. Made it to the NBA Finals once. He was also in dogfights with Jordan and Patrick Ewing and the Knicks. They stopped them from winning to go into the finals sometimes. But Reggie Miller got to the finals, but he went up against a team in Kobe and Shaq. The Lakers were just built to win that year, and Reggie and them, they tried all they could, but they got beaten 6. So I'm here to tell you, but he's one of the greatest shooters of all time. He gets his flowers for being that guy. I don't know why he's not on NBA 2K. I don't know what the deal is with that. I don't know why they don't pay him. Pay to put Reggie Miller on these games, guys. Put him on there. Whatever figure he wants, pay him to put him on these games. It'll be interesting to have Reggie Miller on the all-time Indiana team because he's one of the best Indiana guys on there. No disrespect to Roy Hibbert and David West and Paul George and all. They were good. But Reggie Miller was the greatest pacer I've seen. Now, Halliburton might be able to change that, but as far as I'm concerned, Reggie Miller is the greatest pacer I ever saw play the game. And that's just me. No disrespect to Jalen Rose, because Jalen Rose was good when he was in Indy. But as for the greatest pacer, it's Reggie Miller. And Reggie Miller didn't win a championship, but he's one of the greatest players that did not win a championship. Number 2, the mailman from the dirty South, Karl Malone. Karl Malone played from 1984 to 2004, folks. Karl Malone went to the NBA Finals 3 times. He got beat twice by Jordan, and he got beat by Rasheed Wallace, Rip Hamilton, Chauncey Billups, Tayshaun Prince, and the Detroit Pistons, and Big Ben Wallace. And I don't want to knock Big Ben out of there, not talk about him as well. Karl Malone won 2 All-Star MVPs. He was the MVP in 1997. I think that was the year that Jordan was mad that he won, and Jordan won the championship. Karl Malone was one of the greatest players to ever play the game. He's the 3rd, listen to me closely, he's the 3rd leading scorer in NBA history, behind LeBron, behind Kareem, and he's 3rd. So he's 3rd on the list, ladies and gentlemen. But Karl Malone, he paid his dues as well. He's a Dream Team original. I think he got like 2 gold medals, if I'm not mistaken. But Karl Malone also, was a professional wrestler. But Karl Malone, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the greatest players in Utah history. When you talk about Utah Jazz, you talk about him and John Stockton. You don't talk about Donovan Mitchell, even though he was there, or Darren Williams, who was there. You don't talk about those other guys, or Donovan Mitchell, like I said before, or you talk about Markkanen now. But when you talk, or Gobert, when he was there, when you talk about Utah, the first thing that come out of their mouth is Karl Malone or John Stockton or Jerry Sloan. Those are the guys you talk about because they are the greatest Utah Jazz players of all time. They didn't win a championship, but they are the greatest on that organization, on that team. Shout out to the mailman. You know what I'm saying? He just didn't get the job done to win a title, but he's one of the greatest players to ever play the game. And number 1 is Sir Charles Barkley, one of my favorite players growing up. I like the Charles Barkley. He is a original Dream Team player, winner of a gold medal. I think he won 2 gold medals. He was an All-Star MVP. He's also an NBA MVP. He got to the finals that year with KJ and Dan Marley and Westphal as their coach, but they ran up against a juggernaut in the middle of a three-peat with Jordan, Pippen, and Horace Grant. And Charles didn't ever get back there, even though that year the Rockets had a chance to get back there, but John Stockton killed him and hit that jumper in his face to win the champion, to win the Western Conference title, to go on to the NBA Finals. But as far as I'm concerned, Charles Barkley is irrelevant because he's one of the biggest guys in NBA history. He's one of my favorite players. Like I said, I love Charles. I have the Phoenix road jersey from back in the day, and I have the home jersey as well of Sir Charles. I don't know why 2K won't pay him. I don't know why they won't put him on the game. I wish they would put him on the game because I would love to see him on that all-Phoenix, all-time greatest team on the game. Charles Barkley was a great Phoenix player as well as a great Philadelphia player. In the early years, he couldn't get there because of Michael and, Bird and all those boys. But I'm here to tell you that he is one of the greatest players to ever play the game without winning the championship. Sir Charles Barkley. His accolades tells it all. He's a Hall of Famer. He's a two-time Hall of Famer because he went as an original by himself, and he also went as a member of the Dream Team, as well as Karl Malone, as well as John Stockton on this list as well. Chris Mullin should have been on this list as well, folks. I forgot to talk about him. But I'm here to tell you all that those are my top 15 plus 3 honorable mention guys that are great in the NBA, but they just could never win a championship. And I'm hoping that the last 3 have an opportunity to win a championship so they can scratch their name off that list. The rest of these guys that are on here, they're not playing in the league anymore. So for that, I will say I am DDE80, a.k.a. Mike D, a.k.a. Mike DZ, 13 Wonder of the World. God bless you. God keep you. I hope you enjoyed this podcast point of view. God bless you. God keep you. Whenever it's posted, you guys will hear it. Until then, have a good night.